Hello, I'm Caroline Derby, 19th Countess of Derby, and we're standing here in the wonderful library of Knowsley Hall, rich with all the books and archives that have helped me piece together this podcast series. And I wanted to share with you, the listeners, and Stephen Lloyd, something that we've collaborated on together in authenticating where we think Shakespeare may have spent his missing years. And we had a real breakthrough when we found this book, which is dated 1593, and it is the funeral book of the Fourth Earl of Derby. Now, the Fourth Earl of Derby, Henry, was married to Margaret Clifford, and he had an enormous household, 120 members of staff, all of whom had to be fed here. But this book is particularly interesting because down here, you will see, if Stephen can point it out for us, just tell us what that says.
So that is William Kemp, and it says 3 yards, and then what they're referring to is mourning blacks here. That's very high quality black cloth to be worn during the funeral, and it's £2. So that's quite a lot of money. So at this level of the household, which is fairly low down, each member of the gentry or each member of the household, you'd be younger members of the gentry, would be given mourning black cloth of £2 in
So
value.
everybody who worked for the Fourth Earl of Derby wore his livery. And therefore, William Kemp must have worked for the Fourth Earl of Derby, and he had these tremendous troops. They were called Derby's men. And William Kemp, you will know, some of the theatrical listeners amongst you, that William Kemp was one of the actors that Shakespeare wrote certain parts for, like Bottom in A Midsummer Night's Dream. So this book actually identifies that William Kemp and very probably William Shakespeare were up at Knowsley or at Lathom during that time. And then here we go on to a folio of the entire tragedies, comedies of William Shakespeare. It's a fourth folio, and we're very, very lucky to still have it. And this is in the library here, and it has all of the plays in it. So here we are now in the state dining room to try and put some faces to the names that we've just been talking about. And here we have the Fourth Earl of Derby. He was married to Margaret Clifford, and he had 120 members of staff in this house or at Lathom, all of whom wore black silk at his funeral, and that was the book that we were talking about. He died in 1593, and his son becomes Fifth Earl of Derby. And this is a portrait of him, and you can see our family coat of arms just there. He's got a rather prominent mole on his head. And Stephen, tell us a bit about him.
Well, he's so important for the family because it's his acting company, Lord Stranger's Men or Lord Stranger's Players, that we believe was the company that was in Shakespeare's missing years, that really where Shakespeare honed his craft as an actor and as a playwright, working both at Knowsley and at Lathom and in London, all over the country. And some of Shakespeare's earliest plays were written for Lord Stranger's Men. He's only Earl for 6 months when, sadly, he's murdered with poisoning, possibly by arsenic. And then we come to his younger brother, William the Sixth Earl.
And you can really see he's the younger brother, can't you? I'd like to discuss a few family myths. William, the Sixth Earl of Derby, married Elizabeth de Vere, who was the daughter of the 17th Earl of Oxford. And their wedding was at Greenwich Palace. It was on the 12th night of 1594. And it was attended by Elizabeth I of England. And he was a huge patron of theatre and players. And we've always understood as a family that Midsummer Night's Dream was written for his wedding, and the part of Bottom was written for William Kemp, and it was premiered at this wedding. Is that true?
We can't absolutely confirm that. Most scholars think that it's very likely, but there are other candidates. But he is, as you say, he's an exceptionally important patron. He had Derby's Men. He was an author. He was a writer. He wrote music. He was deeply involved in theatrical productions. And he had this really famous company called Paul's Children, a company of child actors, which was Queen Elizabeth's favourite acting company that performed at court. So here he is wearing the Order of the Garter, the highest order of chivalry in England, and I wouldn't be surprised, he was awarded it by Queen Elizabeth in 1601. It may have been for services for amusing the Queen.